Well, first of all, apologies for some slackening in the output department. I will just say a lot has happened to me. Not going to get too personal, but trying to work through it. So I will try to get back on track as soon as possible, but a lot of events have over. So now let's get to the good stuff, which is the Empire interview. And Empire is pretty good, and it does have a few nuggets. I will forewarn this ahead of time because it gave a little bit on the Harkonnens and said, hey, if you want to read more, then you have to pick up the print version, which is fine. I mean, I understand the hustle of getting consumers to pay for the magazine. That's all fine. What he said in the quote online is pretty much what you're going to get, saying, we're going to have more Harkonnen in part two. That's it. He didn't really say anything more. So in terms of the Harkonnen thing, but there are a lot of little bits and pieces that were fascinating in the interview itself. I will just give a skeleton because I don't want to, again, cheat them out of possibly gaining new subscribers or old time readers, but it is a little bit all over the place. So let's go through the highlights and then I'll focus on the deleted scenes. So he says that with kind of dreamy aspects of what we find in the film, that it's a very Jungian thing, and that's something he wanted in the film. Again, is that really in the mythology? He doesn't say for sure, but he wanted that in there. So if you felt a very Jungian vibe throughout part one, that was very deliberate, and that is something he confesses to. He also confesses to some production issues that with the desert shots, they had not much trouble, but in Hungary. So if you go back and spot a few places where maybe you'll see rain where it shouldn't be, yeah, they couldn't get rid of that entirely. It was just a lot of rain in Hungary. And of course, they need Hungary because of the tax breaks. So some continuity errors may be present that he didn't want, and he confesses to that. Now, in terms of the music, he gives a lot of credit to Hans and how they did the Sardaukar and how he wanted it to be a very foreign language. So the singing or chanting or whatever is very Hans' idea. But the bagpipes are apparently his idea, and he came up with them very, very early in the morning and out of nowhere. So, in terms of people asking about what's the deal with the bagpipes, that is a Denis idea. He just wanted it in there. Just spare the moment thing. He just wanted it. They put it in, but are they going to follow up? We'll wait and see. But he thought it was a very clever idea. But it's not in the books. It's just something he wanted for himself. And now let's get to the meat of the thing, which of course is the deleted scenes. And he confirms, yes, Jessica and the knife scene with Paul, Mentats, and Gurney playing the balisette. Yes, there were a ton of little scenes that were cut from the theatrical. He wishes he could have included them, but he felt that the cut we have is the best. I don't even mind that, but the interviewer is literally editorializing, saying, well, we don't really need those scenes, but it must have been really torture for you to take them out. And he says, yes, yes, I really wanted them in there, but we don't really need them. So apparently, it's just how we're going to frame the debate that we don't really need these scenes. Well, I think the fandom should decide that, but that's me. I think we should have those scenes. Clearly, he's being preemptive and saying, yeah, it's a shame, but we may not have access. But I think we should campaign to have them anyway. And Discovery is taking over, so maybe they will be amenable to releasing the deleted scenes in a format one way or the other. And on a final note, he does try to explain the weird structure of Dune Part 1 and Part 2. Namely, the strategy was Part 1 was focused on Paul and the Bene Gesserit, and that's why the focus was there. So a lot of characters were shut out by definition, but so a lot of characters like the Emperor and Fayed were never going to make it because the focus was on Paul and trying to set up the Bene Gesserit as well. So that may explain why it's very lopsided and we just don't get a lot with the Mentats or the other key characters. They're just not going to be focused on, and that was a very deliberate decision. So overall, some really nice little tidbits, and there's some more extra stuff. I'll get to that in other videos, but I'm a little torn on how he's framing the deleted scenes. I thought that was very, very political, and I think very skewed, but that's me. Otherwise, yeah, very informative interview, but I think a little misleading from, again, I said the website in terms of promising more on the Harkonnens. He really doesn't divulge anything on the Harkonnens, really, so that's a little misleading. But otherwise, very solid interview. I'd highly recommend picking up Empire, getting all the details and more. I will do a little bit more on this in future videos. Thanks for listening.